Ladies and gentlemen, friends and foes, we welcome you to the first ever GRS Community Impact podcast. We're going to spend a little time today telling you about how we got here and why. The why of this podcast, I think, is the exciting part. But I am Jamie Miller. I am a lifelong Garlandite. I spent time in Rowlett. I've spent time in Sachse. I've been all over our communities. One of the things that has mystified me is why we no longer have a newspaper, a radio station we've never had, or a TV station anyway to get the word out effectively. And so my companion here today is Sheena. Sheena, why don't you introduce yourself right quick?
Yeah, so I'm Sheena Sharapata, and with Planet Ford 635, been there almost 10 years in Garland, and then actually lived in Sachse for about 8 years. So very involved in the community with community relations and excited to get this started.
Why don't you tell us how you got to Garland, what your role is with Planet Ford, and then what you're doing in the community?
Yeah, so basically at the dealership, I handle the community relations and kind of grassroots marketing, and we've developed a lot of events and got to know a lot of great companies in Garland and a lot of nonprofits. And through that, I just saw that Garland is truly about the people and just the impact that everyone is making, and so much isn't really gotten out there, and so many nonprofits are doing great things and so many businesses are doing great things. So on top of putting, several clay shoots, golf tournaments, and boxing events together, we're able to network all these great companies together as well. So obviously we knew you guys through Veritex Bank and you guys supporting so many incredible causes in the nonprofit. And we grabbed lunch and just started talking about, what could we do to make a bigger impact and get this knowledge out there to share about businesses, nonprofits, what students in Garland ISD are doing. So we just said, hey, why don't we do a podcast? Let's get the film, the video where we can share this knowledge and get more people involved and make a bigger impact.
So, what you hear is the genesis of what we hope will be a good idea and something that will be well received, be informational, be interesting and educational, and hopefully entertaining as we go. And we have a lot of various things in mind. As I told you before, I'm Jamie Miller. I'm a lifelong Garlandite. I've been a lifelong, career-long banker in the community, and pretty much been there forever. And I'm aware and have been painfully aware that there are so many great things that happen. My last 8 years that I've spent on the school board has really opened my eyes to the greatness of the youth that we have here in town, that we really don't have a good way to get the information out. The school district does its best. It has a website. We do welcome and congratulations, and we do all kinds of recognitions at the school board level. But what we're hoping is that we have a podcast, a tool here called GRS Community Impact. It includes Garland, it includes Rowlett, and it includes Sachse. And we want to include the cities, the chambers, the charities, business, people, individual, history. We want to get into as much as we can, get it recorded. We're going to have the ability, hopefully soon, to translate into different languages such as Spanish.
Yes.
So that we can reach a community that is entirely diverse right now, totally different than when I went there, totally different than when my kids went there. And that's not a bad thing. That's just a thing. It's just the way it is. One of the things we want to do is recognize and welcome our entire community. So this podcast hopefully will do that. GRS Community Impact. That's the name that we have come up with, and we hope it will be impactful. One of the things I think that, or I hope that will be interesting, is some of the individuals that we'll have. We have some things going on in our communities that we just can't wait to get the word out. I know that Sheena, for instance, has been involved with Guns and Hoses and the Garland boxing gym. Now, that's going to be a whole podcast in and of itself.
Yes.
But why don't you talk about some of the stuff, just real quick, that's going on with the boxing gym?
Yeah, and that's the perfect example. So I've been at the dealership almost 10 years, and I think it was a couple years ago, after being connected to Dave Swavey with Guns and Hoses Foundation, They said, "Do you know that he runs a boxing gym, the Garland 9th Street Gym Project?" And I'm like, "Where is it?" And they go, "Downtown Garland." I go, "Where?" And literally right off Main Street, just to the side, right near you guys at the bank. And who knew that it's been there 30 years? And we had this conversation because we have a big event coming up for them next week. But over 10,000 kids have gone through this program, and a lot of them now are business owners in Garland, working in Garland, have families there, and their kids are going back through the gym. And someone who, all I'm doing in the community didn't even know about it. So how are we expected to let the rest of Garland know? And that was kind of a big thing that we talked about. But that's a good example of a nonprofit. And there's several that I think need to get their message out there, because what I've seen, which you probably have too with Wheels of Hope Car Show, there's a lot of businesses that want to support, but they don't know where to look. And that's kind of what our hope is to share those nonprofits with the businesses too.
Yeah, we have an incredibly giving community. We have a community that there's needs that need to be filled,
Yes.
and then there are resources with which we need to tap to help do that. And people like you and I who have been involved in charitable causes forever, I joke about it, but it's possible that I've been on every charity that exists in town over my 45 years since college. I've been involved in the banking community and the business community, the chamber, economic development, you name it, now the school board, and various other things. You touched briefly on the Wheels of Hope. That's a show that'll probably come up in September. It is a huge event downtown Garland. It has developed into one of the top car shows around. We'll talk more about that later, but it benefits the Hope Clinic that gives health care to those who are in need in the Garland community. There are other things in Rowlett. There are other things in Sachse that are equally as noteworthy that we're going to get to and we're going to be able to cover. Our goal is to get it out, get it in a couple of languages. We're going to work on Vietnamese as well. We have a great Vietnamese soccer tournament that comes up in July. Veritex Bank is a sponsor of that as well. But this tournament draws in Vietnamese soccer teams from as many as 40 different states, and they come to Garland for about a week, and they compete in the heat out at Winters Park in a very well-run, very organized. I can't tell you how proud I am of the entire community that supports this. Jennifer Wynn and Jimmy Tran do a great job with this, along with all their supporters. But those are people we're going to have on here, too, to talk about. We're going to cover our diverse community. We're going to cover it with diverse guests. We're going to try to preserve a little bit of history. We have some people who have knowledge of things that happened way before I even can start remembering. And we don't want to lose track of that information or that knowledge, so we're going to try to get some of that out of each community. The mayors that I've talked to, the city managers that I've talked to, chamber representatives that I've talked to, they're all on board. And so we hope this becomes something that the community, we're going to have a Gmail account at some point, right, Sheena?
Yes. And we'll have a Gmail account that you can reach out to us if you'd like to be featured on the show. And our format basically is we're going to have a YouTube channel and release an episode every week. And through the month, there'll be one on a business, one on a nonprofit, one on something Garland ISD kids are doing, accomplishments, and then one that's kind of unique that we can just throw out there. And I forgot to mention this, but also with the boxing gym, there's actually, which we'll have them on probably next month, but David and Esme of the Garland 9th Street Gym Project actually won Texas Golden Gloves, and they were the champions. So that's a great example of them representing Garland and, who really knows about it, and I try to post on my Facebook, but how can we reach more to let them know the great things that the students and kids of Garland ISD are doing?
Yeah, and to me, there's nothing that's more satisfying than kids who work out, train, practice, rehearse, whatever their endeavor is, and then they get to perform it in front of their families and friends, and then especially when they start getting recognition or winning competitions to advance to a state and even national level. And you wouldn't be surprised, actually, at the number of students we have that have done extremely well within the district, won at the state level, and now have competed or in the process of competing at the national level, from academics to athletics. It's just amazing, the kids we have in Rowlett, Sachse, and Garland, and the talent that they have. Again, I'm privileged. I get exposed to it by being on the board.
Yes.
And so I get to hear about it. We're going to have our superintendent. We're going to have the PR person, Jason Wheeler, will be joining us from time to time, and we're going to highlight some of this. In other words, I remember back in the old days, Sheena, way before you were born, Garland had the Garland Daily News, and it did a good job of capturing what was going on in the city, and especially with respect to the youth. It was very good to list every game that was played within the city, who played, who hit a homer, who scored a basket, who made a touchdown, and families could read about their kids' accomplishments in the paper every day. We had a writer that Sue Watkins, I remember. Sue has passed, but she wrote an article called Around Town, and she was probably the top. If you didn't know something in Garland, you called Sue, because she knew
it all.
She knew it all. And there are still, we're just trying to find an avenue so that we can recreate some of the magic that is the communities of Garland, Rowlett, and Sachse as we go through this. And we're fortunate that we have a sponsor to kick us off, like Prestige Ford. We have Jupiter Chevrolet that will be kicking in real soon, and we will have some other sponsors as we go. Our impetus, though, is going to be to stay positive. You won't see political things. You won't see political
Only
things
positivity
on here.
here.
Yeah, this is about the good and positive. You can watch the regular news to get all the negativity you want. Here we're gonna stay positive. We're gonna stay upbeat, and by all means, I really am excited about being able to recognize what's going on within our charities and our students who are so talented. If you haven't had the opportunity, Sheena, to walk through one of our campuses and observe what's going on and notice just how tremendously intelligent these kids are. I mean, they're way more intelligent than I ever was. They just need opportunity, and they work so hard, and there's so many things that they just never get recognized for.
Yeah.
And those are the kids I have a heart for. You'll find out through the years what I do at my bank, especially like the art department, whether it's Garland High or the whole art department, when they have a show and they have kids that do very talented things and they win awards.
Oh, y'all showcase, right?
We'll showcase them in the bank lobby just so people can see it and know about it. And it's a point of pride. They bring their families out. They take pictures in front of their artwork, and it's just a way that we can highlight some of the things that are going on. You know, we don't have a football field where everybody gathers to look at art and clap. So this is one of the things that I do, where we try to recognize those who don't get normal recognition. And so with respect to GRS Community Impact Channel, we're going to have logos. We have logos. We have things that we've done. We're going to have graphics. We're going to have music intros, music outros. I'm going to make an effort to get with every city, every chamber, and every school district to get a copy of their monthly calendars, and we'll run those at the end.
Just showcase the events and everything happening.
If you're looking for something to do in Sachse, Rowlett, or Garland, we'll have a calendar, a community calendar that tells you what's going on in one place. You can find out what's going on in all three areas. They have their own websites. They have their own calendars. I'm not trying to take away from that, but I'm just saying, this is just another venue, another tool by which we can get the word out. And do you have what other thoughts did you have on that?
I think one of the most interesting things about Garland, you might know this. Is it the 18th largest city in Texas?
It's the 13th largest.
13th. Okay, so yeah, moved up. So working in Garland, and you've come across this with what you've done with Wheels of Hope, I didn't even know the caliber of companies, just to find out. And these are a couple sponsors of the boxing event next Friday. But, Resistol makes Stetson hats, and Garrett Metal Detectors, who does all that for the airport, Kraft, Daisy, Sherwin-Williams, like to know that these big, big companies are in Garland. And when you start finding out, even the smaller companies, they step up and support these events just as much as the big ones. And it's just interesting to learn about all the different industries, and then the backgrounds to the business owners. And then it's like you really do become friends and families with these individuals. So, we're going to feature those businesses too. And my biggest thing is just how can we network all those companies together to do business with each other, and then then they support those nonprofits, and then we get into the kids and what they're doing, and then the unique factor like the music that you talked about on the square, and the guitar shop. I mean, there's just so many incredible things going on where people don't really realize, like, oh, that's all in Garland.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I wanted to bring that up. Going back years and years and years ago, there are probably more people in Garland, Rowlett, and Sachse that know my parents than know me. My parents were involved in everything, but my dad, years ago, back in the 90s, got into bluegrass music, probably starting around 84, 85, when my wife's mom introduced him to bluegrass, and he just became a bluegrass nut. And before you know it, they were having a group on the square downtown Garland. They'd play every Saturday night, called the Garland Square Pickers. They're still going today. My dear dad passed away in 2007, but every year since then, the Bluegrass Group has had a Jim Paul Miller Bluegrass tribute downtown in the plaza, and they bring in bluegrass talent from all over. And there's another segment, just talking to some of these bluegrassers and what they do and how they do it. Downtown in Garland has gone through a renovation, award-winning, awesome renovation, and the whole downtown area is so cool. A couple of years before it came in, Jimmy Wallace Music Gallery, Jimmy Wallace Music Store, moved into downtown Garland. Now, he's lived in Garland forever, and I've known him forever. He is one of the lightning rods, if you will, that has turned Garland into a music destination. His involvement downtown, you never know who you're going to see in his guitar store. It could be very notable people.
Didn't Chris Stapleton go? I thought I saw that on Facebook.
Chris Stapleton has been there. He spent a day, and I think he bought 7 or 8 guitars. Post Malone brought a guitar in to be repaired and spent a good amount of time. If you're coming through and you have guitar needs, a lot of people will know Jimmy and stop by and see him. There are people from all over the world. He sells across the world. He's one of the top guitar collectors in town, but he's also hooked into the music scene. He runs the Dallas International Guitar Festival. I'm giving Jimmy a big plug here, but he owns the largest guitar show in the world, and it is every May in downtown Dallas and Market Center. But through that, he has tons of musicians that come and play for his show, and we're leveraging off of that to bring that kind of talent to Garland, to the community. So that's one of the things I think that's special. And again, we have free concerts down in the square, everything from rock and roll to bluegrass to Tejano music to and the square is packed every time. It's been highly successful, and we're going to continue that. So we'll have Jimmy in here. We need to have a good discussion about guitar collections and everybody he's played with, from Johnny Winter to B.B. King and et cetera. But Jimmy is history in and of himself. So we're going to capture some of that, and that'll be a fun one that we'll get scheduled real soon, probably one of our next months. And we'll have that to talk about all of that. I know that there are other things that we're missing from Sachse and Rowlett. I have talked to the mayor of Sachse, and we've got some really great things that we can do informationally and podcast-wise with Sachse and the events there. And the same thing with Rowlett. I spent the first 6 years of my life in Rowlett. My sister went to Rowlett Elementary School when it was at the old place. the little tiny school downtown. And so I have a heart for all of those, and I really want to showcase and educate and give credit to active people who are working to make their community better. So that's what this community impact, the GRS Community Impact Channel podcast channel is going to be about. Sheena, do you want to talk about how we're going to roll it out and where it's going to be and how you'll connect to it?
Yeah, so we'll get the email attached at the end of this that you guys can reach out as well, and we'll have that scheduled format. And our main avenue is going to be through YouTube, but we will probably branch out and do on some other social channels, like LinkedIn and Facebook, but YouTube's going to be our primary one. And the goal is to have 4 a month. One will be featuring the business, one featuring a nonprofit, one featuring great accomplishments of Garland ISD kids, and then like with the music scene, just something unique going on. And then we'll release one each week throughout the month, and then just kind of work on our schedules. And as you mentioned with Rowlett and Sachse, I also think, there's so much I don't know about those cities. So I'm excited to meet guests, and that's why we're going to encourage people to reach out so we can feature you guys. And there is a lot of small business too, just like the restaurants on the square, a lot of mom and pop stores and restaurants, and just bringing awareness to all that. So that's the whole goal, is making an impact in the community. And on that YouTube channel, we will share those out. And then we just encourage anyone to, share those on their social channels if you find it unique and interesting, and bring awareness to your company, to your nonprofit, to your kids. And you know how that works. It's just share and share and share. And then things get more well known, and just everyone's kind of working together. So that's kind of our game plan. And I think it's going to be great.
So that kind of lays it out again to bring home the need for this. I think is great. I talk to a lot of people from my age to younger. They don't watch the news. They don't take a newspaper. And I ask them, where do you get your information? They say from the internet and podcasts. I know people who commute daily from Rockwall, and the entire trip, which could be an hour, they spend listening to podcasts.
Yep.
And so that was kind of, as soon as Sheena told me that she had some experience in podcasts, the light bulb went off. Why don't we do one? Why can't we do one?
Yeah.
Why can't Garland, Rowlett, and Sachse have a podcast that features the greatness of our community? There's so many great things coming up. Garland's adding a professional soccer team. Well, we need to hear from those people. We need to hear what's going on there. I know there's a lot of interest with this, and I can't think of a better spot than where they're putting it, right up where Garland, Richardson, Plano come together. There are so many kids involved in youth soccer in those areas, and what a great program to bring to the city. So we'll try to be as diverse as we can. Again, we're working on the technology that will convert everything that Sheena and I just talked about to Spanish and hopefully Vietnamese as soon as possible. And we will have guests from every community, representation of all our people in the community as soon as we can. I think when this thing develops, we're going to have more content than we have airtime for.
I think so too.
It could happen, and there's that many great things going on. I really appreciate the fact that Sheena made my light bulb go off. That if other people can do it, why can't we? And here we are in this beautiful podcast room. We happen to be in Forney, Texas. We happen to be in one of what's called the OC, which is the Opportunity Center in Forney, built by the school district. The people that run this are involved in the car show in downtown Garland. A guy by the name of Randy Klein that I have known for a long time. He's helped me with the car show. If you haven't been to the Wheels of Hope car show, it's coming up October 18th of this year. Save the date. Randy and his professional crew of engineers set up our sound system. There's no car show in the world that has a better sound system than what we have, PA system, and ability to communicate to our public better than what Randy Klein brings to the Wheels of Hope in downtown Garland. So I'm giving him a quick plug. He deserves it. He has volunteered so many times for me and things around. Let me just say this. If your phone number winds up accidentally in my phone, you're going to be on the board of directors of the Wheels of Hope and the GRS Community Impact Channel, because I will call on you if I need you for something. And that's just the way it works. I know that Sheena doesn't need to be prompted to get involved in the communities. She has done that. She's proven that over and over, and she's backed by a company that has the interest to allow her to operate in the space that she does so much good. So we're real excited to hear from a lot of different people. In our next couple of segments, you want to run down what the next 2 segments are going to be?
Yeah, so we're going to have Sophia Nunez with Empower the Voice nonprofit. So she actually used to work for Garland ISD and then started a nonprofit, and it's real interesting on the story of her coming to the U.S. and the life she was living and the dangers and coming here and everything she's learned, and now she's helping students with scholarships. And I got connected to her through the chamber, and then basically everyone that I know has never even heard of her or the nonprofit. So it's about spreading that awareness. And then we're going to have one of my good friends, Carrie Hoffer, and he's with Caliber Car Wash Rowlett. They just opened that location, and just had you mentioned, most car washes don't give back to the community, and they're out there doing fundraisers for Hope Clinic, Garland Police Never Walk Alone Foundation, the boxing gym, and he has a big heart for the community. So just kind of sharing a little bit what they're doing in Rowlett from a business standpoint. And what I love about how you mentioned there wasn't, really newspapers or the articles, is I'm a visual person. So to be able to see us talking, see the guest, and then after we're done, that YouTube link, now these nonprofits can go share that on their socials or clip up this knowledge and put it on their websites. Yes. And, thanks to the sponsors and what we're doing, then they're able to share that to help get more awareness for their company or nonprofit and kind of have more reach as well. So for us to be able to provide that for them.
Super. Well, we're going to wrap up. This is our pilot.
Yes.
This is Sheena and I. We talked about the why.
Yes.
We talked about the what. We talked about the why. There are some things coming up that we're extremely excited about. I hope the community, we're going to do everything we can to spread awareness throughout the community of both this podcast and the people that will make it fun. So that's the reason. So thank y'all for tuning in, and stay tuned. In the next week, there will be more to come.
Yes. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.